what's going on? It's Joey Myers from the Hitting Performance Lab, and this video is all about the Juan Soto swing analysis. These videos we're going to be looking at here in a few are in the postseason World Series of 2019. We're going to look at a home run, we're going to look at a double that he hit oppo. And before we get into that though, we're going to look at his just kind of some quick stats. You can see he's a young kid, 21 years old. You got lefty, 6'1", 185 pounds. So if you look at the bulk of home runs off, say, baseballreference.com or something like that, and you look at the makeup of most of the home run hitters, you're going to see between a kind of a 5'10", 5'11 to 6'1 frame around 185 to 205 on the poundage. Kind of interesting. The bulk majority of home runs hit in all time, you're going to see kind of in that zone. So he's obviously there. So let's look at some quick stats from this year. You can see here 2019, that pretty good line. He's got 32 doubles, 5 triples. He's got 34 homers, 110 runs, 110 RBIs. He's also got, what's interesting is 108 walks to 132 strikeouts. Very, very cool. And there are some things in this video that point to how these numbers are, how they worked out. Let's also take a look at his batted balls, the line drive, ground ball, fly ball percentages. So if you look at this year in 2019, 21.2 percentage line drive rate. It's a little bit above average. Average, I think, is 20%. Ground ball percentage, he's below average. Averages tends to be league average, 44%. Fly ball percentage is about average, 37.2. I think 37% is the average, or 38. But then you see well above average is home run to fly ball ratios, 22.2%. I think the average is like 9%. So interesting look at the stats and seeing the makeup possibly could be answering the question of how he's able to kind of keep his strikeouts to walks to almost a 1-to-1 ratio. Let's take a look at some of the video. The first things we're going to look at, and this is the home run he hit against Cole through the opposite field. Up and away, and this pitch was a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, as you can see over here. The first thing we want to look at is how the lower half sets directional force. A lot of people, a lot of coaches out there think that the lower half is all about power, and it's actually about 20 to 30% of the power equation, and most of that is actually in the pelvis, which is a part of the spinal engine, and the spinal engine, shoulders, spine, and pelvis are responsible for about 70 to 80% of the power. So it's not so much that the lower half sets as the power side, or a majority of power, which it isn't. It's actually in the minority, but what it does is it sets directional force. So a lot of coaches out there talk about getting the hips to rotate all the way around so that you can get around on the ball. But you can see here, you can see where the belt buckle is at just slightly before impact, and at impact, the belt buckle is slightly from our view, to the right of Cole, the pitcher. And to be able to hit for power, we have to set our directional force. And I think it was Matt Noakes that said that it takes 8,000 pounds per square inch of force in one direction, is the key word, to hit a ball 400 feet. So if you have hitters that are over-rotating their lower half, so everything is going out as this lefty going out towards right, or righties going out towards left, then what happens is, instead of 8,000 pounds per square inch of force in one direction to hit it 400 feet, it's going to take, if you're pulling out on an outside pitch, like Soto, if he was doing that, it would take probably double that. I don't know what the exact number is, but it could be 12,000 or 16,000 pounds per square inch of force to hit a ball 400 feet if you're not hitting it where it needs to be hit. Again, I always go back to, with my hitters, the pinball machine, or the pinball game in the arcades. And when you want the flapper to hit the pinball to the right side of the table, you have to let that ball travel, and you have to hit it deeper, almost like it's going to get by the flapper before you pull the trigger on it. And the reverse is true if you want to pull it, if you want the flapper to pull the pinball. So context again, you can see that ball is up and away, 96 miles an hour, and you can see the belt buckle is slightly to the right of the pitcher until after the swing. And even then, he kind of takes this awkward step with his front leg, kind of goofy step, to keep his body, his lower half, in that position and allow the upper half to unwind around it. Here's a close-up of it. So you can see same pitch, same ball he hit, 96, up and away, belt buckle, and it stops. There comes a time when the lower half needs to stop rotating, or the pelvis needs to stop, and allow the upper half to rotate around until he's well done with the swing. Now here's it in the same game. He hits a double to off the wall to left field, and same Cole still pitching. But this ball, I think, was a slider or something, changeup maybe, that was 90 miles an hour located down and away, which EV tells us 90 actually looks -6. So it's more of an 84 miles an hour pitch versus that 96 mile an hour up and away fastball, which actually looked probably closer to 100 miles an hour EV. So this pitch, you can see he stays down on pretty well, but you can see similar hip, even less rotation on this one. You can see with the belt buckle, it's not rotating quite as much. Maybe he's out in front a little bit on the other one. I don't know. Maybe that ball's 96 up and away. Here's a close-up of the same double. You can see he's making room. It looks like a little bit his butt's pushing back. Hips are kind of trying to get out of the way, but they're not rotating as much as they did on the first one. But he's lining everything up. You can see the belt buckle is well to the right of Cole, possibly even pointing at the shortstop. I mean, this is a tough camera view, but looks similar. He's pointing over towards the left side of the field. Here's a chest view of the same double. You can see, again, lower half's got to stop rotating at some point and allow the upper half. The lower half will act like an anchor. You can see the pinstripe has stopped rotating here. See the pinstripe on his back leg is rotating. You see it moving, and then it just stops. Upper half finishes the rotation. So this is what I mean by lower half sets the directional force. The next thing I wanted to talk about was we talk about this idea of hitting the ball back through the tube with my hitters. So the tube is this yellow line. I tell them to imagine that the ball's coming through a tube. It's coming out of the pitcher's hand, coming into the catcher's glove through a tube, and that we want to hit that ball back through the tube. So the tube is set by the distance from the ground. So the height of the tube, distance from the ground, and we want to hit that ball back through the tube the same one in which it came. So if the tube is set at 2 inches off the ground, it's down here, then we need to hit the ball 2 inches off the ground as it comes off your bat. If it's up here, 4 feet from the ground, up towards the armpits, then we should be getting on top of that ball to hit it back through the tube at 4 feet off the ground. And you can see here on this double, this is the only chest view, this is the best view to see this, but you can see he gets the barrel on plane early, and this is a prototypical high-level way that high-level hitters will approach a ball that's middle away. This ball, as you saw, was down and away. So middle away and most extreme distance from the hitter. So what you'll see is this, what I call a deep barrel dump, which is okay when the ball is located middle away and especially down and away. So you're going to see the barrel jump in the zone early on this one versus if this ball was middle in or up and in, what you would see is his barrel would actually start, like where you see it now, would actually start somewhere at this point here. It would get in the zone here in order to hit the pitch more out here. So you'd see that the distance between the 2 points where he's going to make contact are going to be the same. It's going to be very, very similar. So we want to middle away, barrel, get into the zone early for a later contact point. And he's actually not even on the sweet spot here. He's a little bit in towards the hand, still considered, I mean, maybe an inch off the sweet spot or so. We see hitters hitting home runs this way, but it's when we get a couple more inches in towards the hands is that we see a lot more vibration. And you don't see much vibration on this bat in his hand. So it might have been on the sweet spot, but as you can see where it hit here, typically sweet spots tend to be a little bit over a little bit, but hey, an inch off the sweet spot I think only takes off, I want to say Dr. Alan Nathan, retired physicist, said 4 feet of distance or 8 feet of distance, like takes off 1 mile an hour ball exit speed, which is 4 feet of distance. So it doesn't make really in the grand scheme a big deal, but you can see the deep barrel. And then as he gets through impact, look at his barrel continue on the tube until about right here, which is pretty natural to come off the tube at that point. But the fact that we tell our hitters to continue, keep that barrel along the tube, even past impact, you're trying to hit that ball back through the tube at which it came. Whatever height that tube is, you want that ball to go there. And this could be a very high indication of why his walks to strikeout ratio is almost 1-to-1. and his line drive percentage, ground ball percentage, fly ball percentage, and fly ball to home run ratios are as good as they are, above average, because he does a great job of staying on the line. If you want to increase batting average, you want to decrease strikeouts, you want to increase your power numbers, this is what your hitters have to do. They have to stay back through the tube, hit the ball right back through the tube. All right, on the Catapult loading system, Juan Soto swing analysis, you can see that the camera angle, this one might be actually a little bit more over the top, might be more center, but it's higher, so the pitcher doesn't get in the way of seeing the hitter. So this could be an actual pretty good apples to apples comparison if a righty were hitting. But you can see this showing numbers. He leaves his head, anchors his head out, his front shoulder passes under his chin, creates pressure in the neck right here, the C spine, where the C and the T meet, cervical and the thoracic spine meet. He's creating pressure up here like he's wringing out a towel, except the towel is the spine. Wringing it out up here. You see the clear as day, the number 22 in his last name. You can see his pelvis already as his toe is hitting the ground. You can see his pelvis, toes hitting the ground. He hasn't weighted that front leg yet, and his pelvis is already starting to move. Again, this was the home run. This was the 96 up and away pitch. You can see that pelvis is already starting to open, but what he does well is he keeps that tension up here, wringing the towel out at the top by moving the shoulder under the head and keeping the head anchored down into a tracking position, and then he unloads all that when he's ready to go. This is what we mean by taking slack out of the system. It's wringing a towel out. Let's take a look at the double off the wall. All right, here's the double off the wall. You can see same approach. You got the numbers here, you got the pressure up here in the neck and the C and the T, and then you can see him with this down shoulder angle, and he's buying time a little bit here, a little bit out in front. Does a good job of hitting that ball back through the tube. Before that even happens, he's preloaded his torso. He's using his spinal engine mechanics to be able to offload this ball and deposit it off the wall in left field. Hope you like this Juan Soto swing analysis, and I hope you're swinging smarter by moving better. And before I let you go,
the Hitting Performance Lab wants to know, did you know repeatable hitting power does not start in the hips? Have you heard the expressions, load and explode the hips? Power comes from the hips. Well, we created a free video revealing the results of a scientific study that will show you how we added 48 feet of batted ball distance instantly. And it's not all about the hips. Click here now to get the video while it's still free.